Alright, what's up? It's here, and of course, welcome back to the channel. Now in this video, we're going to take a look at the top 10 most overpowered weapons in Call of Duty history. Now first things first, a little heads up, I decided not to put half of Modern Warfare 2's arsenal in this video, just for the sake of mixing things up a little bit. So with that being said, I'm going to casually assume that a lot of you are going to disagree with this list. So of course, be sure to share your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, but try to keep it civil over here. Anyway, with that said, at the number 10 spot we have the UMP-45, of course, from Modern Warfare 2. In fact, the suppressed UMP-45. I don't know what it was about this weapon, but without the suppressor, it just didn't feel right to me. And of course, every single one of you that played Modern Warfare 2 back in the day will know that this was the go-to gun for every single rusher out there, simply because it was super powerful and super versatile at both close and medium range. Of course, at long range, it was practically useless, but then again, it's an SMG, so hey, it should be. In fact, the most difficult decision for you to make when it came down to using this gun was what perk 3 to go for. Whether it be Ninja to make sure that people don't notice you when you're flanking around, of course Commando to make sure you can stab people right on in the chest or in the neck when they decide to poke their heads around the corner, or of course Steady Aim, improving your spray and pray capabilities by a heck of a lot. Alright, so next up at the number 9 spot we have the MSBS, of course from Call of Duty Ghosts. Now, to be fair, at this point in time, I think Infinity Ward is notorious for putting overpowered burst weapons in their game. Of course, the M16 back in Call of Duty 4, the FAMAS and MW2, the Type 95 and MW3, and then of course the MSBS in Call of Duty Ghosts. A gun that by now a lot of you have probably forgotten about. So I figured it was about time to freshen up that memory a little bit, because this gun right here brought Overpowered to a whole new level. In fact, at the start of Call of Duty Ghosts, nothing could beat this gun at close range, except for shotguns, and in that case, they'd have to get a lucky one-shot kill. Basically, all the way at the start, this weapon right here dealt 55 to 20 damage, meaning of course it would only take 2 bullets to drop a person at close to medium range, which was absolutely crazy. Now considering I'm a bit of a tryhard, this one right here was the first gun I unlocked the gold camo for, this gun right here was the first one I got a quad feed with, and so on and so forth. Honestly, I had a blast using this at the start of Call of Duty Ghosts. And then, just like with a lot of guns on this list, it received a fresh nerf, and after that, it honestly was never the same again. Alright, so next up, at the number 8 spot, we have the NV4 from Infinite Warfare. Now, I'm going to be quite honest with you, I actually didn't come up with this one. This one was basically suggested to me, I think by Trey Washington over on Twitter. Probably butchered his name, in which case, I'm sorry my friend. Honest to God, when I made this list, I didn't even consider any of the weapons from Infinite Warfare. But when he mentioned this one, I figured, you know what? That's actually not a bad one. Because for those of you that don't know, the NV4 is basically like the ACR from MW2, or of course the M27 from Black Ops 2. However, this one deals a significant amount of damage, resulting in a weapon that is practically impossible to beat at medium to long range. And then on top of that, everybody and their mother uses it simply because it's the very first assault rifle you unlock. And quite frankly, there's really no point in using anything else. Of course, the K-bar is good at close range, but it's definitely not as versatile as this one. And it also has a nuke variant, which of course results in every try-hard use of this weapon as well. Alright, so next up, at the number 7 spot, we have the FAMAS. And in this case, we're talking about the FAMAS from Modern Warfare 2 and not the version that was seen in Black Ops 1. That one will pop up in a little bit, you'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, so the only reason I chose this one over the Type 95 from MW3, which of course initially was better than the FAMAS due to its higher fire rate and it had the exact same damage figures. However, they nerfed that weapon after a couple of weeks, whilst the FAMAS is still intact. It is still the exact same as it was on day 1. And quite frankly, that makes it a little bit better than the Type 95. Basically, for those who had never played MW2 back in the day, the FAMAS is one of those weapons that is perfect for close to medium range, simply because it will drop opponents with only one burst very, very consistently. And on top of that, if you manage to unlock Sleight of Hand Pro, which is essentially quick draw from the current Call of Duty titles, you'd be able to snap on target in a split second, just because the aim assist back in the day was a lot more powerful than it is today. And then on top of that, it didn't have much recoil, so of course if you decided to slap a red dot set on there, or an EOTech sight, it would even be very consistent at long range as well. Anyway, so next up we have the ASM-1, of course from Advanced Warfare. Now, to be fair, I was very tempted to put the HBI-3 Insanity on this list, simply because that has to be the best weapon in that game. However, that's of course an epic variant, meaning that it's very unlikely that every single one of us got to use that gun. Now, me personally, I was lucky enough to get that weapon, I think in week 2 or 3, something like that. So of course, that's my most used weapon in that game. However, the ASM-1, just like the BAL-27, was super deadly right out of the box. Not only was it able to drop opponents with only 3 bullets at both close to medium range very easily, but just like with the MP7 from of course MW3, you could also drop opponents very quickly at long range, due to the low recoil. Of course, after that in SMGs it's mobility, and you've got a weapon that every single pro used during every single match ever. In fact, watching competitive matches during Advanced Warfare was a little dull, because the kill feed at all times was filled with either the ASM-1 or the BAL-27. Now, to be fair, nowadays the ASM-1 isn't what it used to be, but I figured I would still put it on this list, simply because they nerfed this one too much into the life cycle of Black Ops 3. I know, solid timing. Alright, so next up, at the number 5 spot, we have the ACR, and in this case, we're talking about the one from Modern Warfare 3. Now, to be fair, normally speaking, I kind of complain about this game quite a lot. Wasn't a huge fan of it, mainly due to the death streaks. However, back in the day, whenever I would go for high-scoring gameplays, or whenever I would go for an MOAB, I would always rock the ACR. Now, to be fair, I reckon some of you want to switch this one with the MP7 just because that more so suits your playstyle. I myself, however, am definitely an assault rifle guy, and in that case, you can't go wrong with the ACR. For starters, the recoil is mainly vertical, so that being said, it's very manageable. The damage is 45 to 30, securing a 3 to 4 shot kill at literally all ranges. And of course, if one of your opponents is already a little bit hurt, you will drop him with only 2 hits. And then on top of that, the fire rate in this case is 705, which is definitely very competitive for your average assault rifle, making this one of the better guns in Call of Duty history. Now next up we have one that is very near and dear to my heart, and that's of course the A94 from Black Ops 2. Now to be honest, as all of you know, I definitely prefer the SCAR over the A94 simply because it packs a bit more of a punch at long range, and of course, it takes a bit more effort to use. However, the A94 is my go-to gun whenever things aren't really going my way. In that case, I'll whip out this weapon with, of course, the quick draw handle, fast mech, and stock. And quite frankly, in 9 out of 10 games, that actually does the trick. Now, to be fair, not only is the A94 one of the better guns by default, this gun also has some very special features that make it even more powerful. Of course, for those that don't know this yet, the standard fire rate of the A94 is 625. However, the first 2 shots are fired at a fire rate of 937. Plus, these 2 bullets are deadly accurate, meaning that whenever you use the A94, you definitely want to choose accuracy over sheer firepower, because in that case, you'll be able to drop your opponents very, very quickly. And of course, for those of you that still haven't managed to get your hands on a nuclear medal, definitely be sure to rock this weapon, with of course the suppressor, the quick draw handle, and then finally the stock, the UAV, the VSAT, and the counter UAV. And then apart from that, simply try your ass off, try your hardest, and eventually you will get that prestigious nuclear medal. Anyway, so next up, at the number 3 spot, we have another weapon that is definitely near and dear to my heart. And in this case, it's the FAMAS from the original Black Ops, aka a tryhard's favorite tool. And with that being said, obviously my most used weapon as well. I think about like 10,000 kills, something crazy like that. This was basically the one gun you could use in every single situation. Now, I think down the line they actually nerfed this weapon. If I'm not mistaken, they basically increased the recoil by a little bit, which of course didn't have a huge impact considering that the FAMAS is obviously still the best gun in this game. Now, of course, what makes this gun so overpowered? Because like I said before, it has a pretty considerable amount of recoil, meaning you definitely have to burst fire at long ranges. The damage isn't anything too significant, it's basically a 3 to 4 shot kill at all ranges. However, the fire rate is 938, which is actually better than most SMGs in this game, obviously making this a top tier weapon. Now, to be fair, my COD skills weren't on point back in the day. So for an example, on the map Havana, I would basically head glitch behind the fountain, right next to my opponents that spawn, pick them off one by one as they ran towards me, and then eventually once I managed to get my hands on the chopper gunner, I would run back to my own spawn, call in that bad boy, and of course kill my opponents as they spawn. To be fair, I was a bit of a dickhead to play against back in the day. Alright, so next up, at the number 2 spot, we have a weapon straight from hell. And that's, of course, the MP40 from Call of Duty World at War. And in this case, I'm very specifically talking about the MP40 with, of course, the drum magazine and steady aim. Arguably the only weapon in this game that takes absolutely no effort to use. You could simply run around and mow through your opponents, and honestly, there's nothing to it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. What about the PPSH? Sure, this weapon is very deadly up close and personal as well, just because it has a very high fire rate. However, when it comes down to it, outside of point blank range, you don't stand a chance against the MP40, simply because the PPSH doesn't deal enough damage. Anyway, even to this day, the MP40 is beyond overpowered in this game, mainly because the game's a bit clunky, so obviously aiming down the sides with something like the Thompson isn't all that viable. And then on top of that, they never nerfed this weapon. This weapon has been this overpowered since day one, and even if you jump on the game nowadays, you'll find that those that are at the top of the leaderboards are either 1 hacking or 2 running around the MP40, because quite frankly, there's no point in using anything else. And then finally, at the number 1 spot, we have the M16A4 from Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Now, of course, had I posted this video last year, I would have felt the need to basically explain myself, But with the introduction of Modern Warfare Remastered, I'm fairly confident most of you, if not all of you, know exactly what I'm on about. Of course, when it comes down to it, you might be able to beat this weapon at point blank range, using either the AK-47 or the MP5, but outside of that, you honestly don't stand much of a chance against this one using literally anything else in this game. Sure, you can try, but in most situations, you will definitely end up dead. And that's of course due to the amount of damage that the M16 deals. Basically, you can drop an opponent with only one burst at any range using this weapon, even when you don't use stopping power. Of course, making it one of the most overpowered and obnoxious guns in Call of Duty history. Anyway, with that being said, if you enjoyed this one, some support, a like rating would be very much appreciated. Of course, if not, that's cool. Be sure to let me know in the comments down below whether or not you agree with me. And like I said before, I definitely try and keep it civil. And apart from that, if you want to, you can also follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can find all those things down below in the description. And for those that care, my Snapchat is by a tier, though nowadays I rarely post anything on there, just because my life isn't all that interesting, let's be honest over here. And then finally, in fact, as always, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. Of course, I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy.